You keep waiting for the right timing, for more confidence, for more clarity, for a sign or a break or permission. You wait because somewhere along the way, someone told you that before you launch, speak, apply, lead, or try, you need to be perfect. And you believed it, but let me ask you a hard question. How long has perfect been your excuse? Because here's the truth: most people avoid perfection doesn't exist, and chasing it is the most sophisticated form of procrastination there is. It sounds responsible, it sounds thoughtful, but it's actually fear dressed up like preparation. Every high performer knows that what separates the ones who move forward from the ones who stay stuck isn't talent, it's action. Consistent, uncomfortable, imperfect action. The people winning aren't the ones who got it right on the first try. They're the ones who had the courage to start when it was messy, unpolished, and uncertain. There is no version of success that doesn't require mistakes. If you think you're going to get it all right before you begin, you're delaying your own growth, the version of you that can lead the team, scale the business, or own the room. That version isn't built by planning, it's built by doing. You want clarity, action creates clarity. You want confidence, reps create confidence. You want results, discipline creates results. But none of that happens if you keep rewriting your to-do list, reworking your plan, and hiding behind the idea that someday you'll be ready. You don't need more time, you need more action. The hardest part of starting is starting. And the reason so many people never get past that first step is because they let their fear of failing be louder than their desire to grow. They tell themselves, when I'm more prepared, I'll speak up. When I know more, I'll launch. When it's a little less chaotic, I'll lead. The problem is life doesn't stop being chaotic, work doesn't stop being busy, and you're never going to feel totally ready, so stop lying to yourself. You are not waiting for perfection, you're avoiding responsibility. Let me be clear, this isn't about rushing, it's about moving. You can move with intention even while you're learning. You can take small steps every day and still be a person of excellence. This isn't about doing it recklessly. It's about doing it regardless. The first time you lead that meeting, you might stumble. The first time you post that content, you might second. Guess yourself, the first time you pitch that idea, you might get rejected. But that's the cost of momentum, and momentum is everything. Perfection is a myth that keeps leaders stuck. It convinces you that your value is tied to your performance instead of your persistence. But the best leaders, the ones who grow teams, build businesses, and drive impact, aren't obsessed with being flawless. They're committed to being faithful, to showing up even when it's uncomfortable, to making decisions even when they don't have all the data, to speaking truth even when it isn't popular. There's a shift that happens when you stop waiting and start executing. You begin to build self-trust. You start realizing that failure didn't break you, it built you. You start recognizing that no one's coming to save you, and no one's going to give you the green light. That's your job. So if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. If you've been waiting for someone to tell you you're ready, you are. If you've been waiting for the timing to be right, the right time is the moment you decide it is. It's not supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be real, and real growth, real leadership, real transformation. It only happens when you take the step before you feel fully ready, before you've got it all figured out, before the path is clear. Progress doesn't require perfection. It requires movement, so stop waiting, start now. We love to dream, we love to write the vision, light the candle, pin the photos, and visualize the life we want. The house, the team, the business, the money, the influence. We love inspiration. It feels productive. It feels exciting. But let's be honest, dreaming isn't doing. And if your goals don't have a deadline, they're not goals, they're just wishes. Too many people stay stuck in the dream phase. They create beautiful vision boards, talk about what they want, and tell people what they're planning to do, but they don't put anything on a calendar. They don't reverse engineer the steps. They don't commit to execution. And the result, another year goes by, and the dream stays right where it's always been on the board, not in reality. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't a lack of motivation. It's a lack of structure. Clarity doesn't come from more thinking, it comes from deciding. Deciding that a dream becomes a goal when you attach a date to it. Deciding that someday is not a strategy. Because let's be real, you don't need another vision. You need a deadline, a non-negotiable finish line. When you set a real goal with a real timeline, you force yourself to start treating it like it matters. You stop pushing it to the bottom of your to-do list. You stop giving yourself permission to drift. You start aligning your schedule, your habits, and your energy toward an outcome that's time-bound, not optional. And here's the truth. Deadlines create pressure, that's why we avoid them, but pressure isn't bad. In fact, pressure is a gift. It forces decisions, it drives focus, it eliminates distraction. When there's a countdown, your urgency increases, and urgency is the fuel of execution. Without deadlines, your brain will default to comfort. It'll tell you you've got time, it'll convince you to wait, but with a deadline, you move differently, you get strategic. You start saying no to things that don't align. You stop perfecting and start producing, and that's where the growth happens. One of the most powerful things you can do today is turn your biggest goal into a project. What's the start date? What's the end date? What are the checkpoints? What resources do you need? Who do you need to become to meet that deadline? These are the questions high performers ask, because they know clarity without urgency is just noise. Let's get practical. Want to launch a product, pick a launch date, put it on the calendar, then reverse engineer every step leading up to that launch: marketing, development, operations, delegation. Deadlines make you manage your time like a leader, not a dreamer. Want to grow your team? Set a hiring deadline. Don't wait until things are less busy. You're always going to be busy. Growth doesn't happen when it's convenient, it happens when it's scheduled. Want to hit a revenue goal? Assign a monthly target and track it daily, weekly, publicly, because what gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets done. Here's the mindset shift. Your goals don't belong on a Pinterest board. They belong in your project management system. They belong in your calendar. They belong in your daily priorities. The moment you stop fantasizing and start scheduling is the moment everything changes. You don't need more time, you need more urgency, you need the discomfort of commitment, the power of a finish line, the accountability of a date, because without a deadline, your potential stays untapped. Your leadership stays reactive, and your dreams stay dreams, so ask yourself, what am I working toward that has no date? What's the dream I keep talking about but haven't taken real ownership of? What's the goal I claim to want but haven't treated like a priority? You are capable, you are resourced, but until you decide when it happens, it won't. Your goals are waiting on your calendar, not your mood, not your motivation, not your vision board. Set the deadline. Commit to it and then work backward day by day like your future depends on it, because it does. Let's clear something up right now. You're not stuck. You're comfortable. You're calling it stuck because that feels better than admitting you've settled. It's easier to say you're confused, burnt out, or waiting for a sign than it is to say you've been avoiding the discomfort of growth. But deep down, you know exactly what you need to do, you just haven't done it. Comfort is seductive. It gives you just enough to feel safe, but never enough to feel fulfilled. It rewards routine and punishes risk, and the longer you live in it, the more you start to believe the lie that your current level is all you're capable of. That lie becomes your ceiling. You say you're stuck in your job, but you've stopped asking for feedback. You've stopped pushing your limits. You're not stuck, you're just not challenged. You say you're stuck in your business. But you haven't tried anything new. You haven't made the hard decisions. You haven't looked at your metrics, addressed the weak spots, or held people accountable. That's not stuck. That's staying still by choice. Discomfort is the price of progress, and if everything in your life feels manageable, predictable, or easy, that's not alignment. That's a red flag, because growth doesn't feel like ease. It feels like resistance. It feels like risk. It feels like stretching beyond what's familiar and safe. You want to feel excited again, make a move that scares you. You want momentum. Try something you don't already know how to do. You want purpose, take on responsibility that forces you to grow into the person who can handle it. The answer to your so-called stuckness is not in finding a shortcut, it's in deciding that you're done tolerating comfort disguised as confusion. Comfort tells you you've done enough. Growth says you've only just begun. And here's the uncomfortable truth. When you say you're stuck, people let you off the hook. It's socially acceptable to be stuck. It sounds helpless, like something outside of you is responsible, but comfort, that's internal, that's ownership, that requires you to confront the fact that your routine is your responsibility, that you created the conditions you're now complaining about. You built this pace, you built these habits, you built this environment, and the good news is, if you built it, you can rebuild it. But first, you have to tell yourself the truth. You have to get honest about the choices you've been making or not making, about the things you've been tolerating, about the opportunities you've ignored because they didn't come wrapped in certainty. You don't need a new plan, you need a new standard, because when your standard is growth, comfort can't compete. You start choosing feedback over affirmation. You start saying no to what's easy and yes to what's effective. You stop complaining about problems and start solving them, because leaders don't stay stuck. They get resourceful. Look at the areas where you feel the most stuck. That's where you've grown the most comfortable, and that's where the greatest opportunity lies if you're willing to disrupt your routine. If you're willing to raise your level of urgency, if you're willing to stop telling the story that something outside of you needs to change, the people who break through are not the most talented, they're not the ones with perfect timing or better circumstances. They're the ones who stop negotiating with their excuses, the ones who decide that temporary discomfort is worth long-term alignment, the ones who know they are not victims of their environment, they are architects of it. You don't need to wait for things to fall apart to make a change. You don't need a breakdown to have a breakthrough. All you need is a decision to move, to stretch, to act even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable, because that's where growth lives, on the other side of the conversation you've been avoiding, the risk you've been calculating, the habit you've been meaning to change. The decision you keep postponing. You're not stuck, you're safe, and the moment you stop protecting your comfort and start pursuing your calling, everything shifts. So ask yourself, what am I calling stuck? That's really just me avoiding growth. What would I do if I wasn't afraid of discomfort? What's the cost of staying here another year? Then decide. You weren't built to plateau, you were built to rise. Excuses are easy, they're comfortable, convenient, and socially acceptable. You can blame the market, your team, your lack of time, your boss, your past, or your circumstances, and people will nod along. Excuses sound reasonable, they sound justified, but here's the truth. Every time you make an excuse, you hand over your power. Every time you explain away your lack of progress, you reinforce the story that something outside of you is in control. Accountability doesn't sound as good, but it gets you good. Accountability is about ownership. It's about saying, I didn't do what I said I would do, and that's on me. It's about choosing to take full responsibility for your outcomes, your results, and your growth, even when it's uncomfortable. The gap between where you are and where you want to be, that gap is filled with accountability, not motivation, not inspiration. Accountability, that quiet, powerful decision to stop blaming and start building. Excuses are a short-term relief. They make you feel better in the moment, but they steal your momentum. They feel like protection, but really, they're delayed tactics. You tell yourself you didn't follow through because the timing wasn't right, or because your environment wasn't ideal, or because you didn't have support. But successful people operate under a different mindset. Regardless of what happened, I'm responsible for what happens next. And that's what separates leaders from dreamers. Leaders don't wait to be held accountable. They build accountability into their lives. They create systems that expose their excuses. They surround themselves with people who won't let them play small. They set goals with dates, and when they miss the mark, they don't hide, they adjust, reframe, and own it. You want to level up, you want to lead at the next level, then your tolerance for excuses has to drop to zero. That means no more blaming your calendar. Your calendar is a reflection of your priorities. No more blaming your team. You hired them, you trained them, you lead them. No more blaming your environment. You control what you consume, who you spend time with, and what you give your energy to. Here's what accountability really looks like. It looks like reviewing your own performance without sugarcoating it. It looks like saying, I failed to plan, and that's why I didn't execute. It looks like having a hard conversation with yourself not just once, but every day. You're not going to accidentally become who you want to be. It takes discipline, it takes uncomfortable self-reflection, and it takes a willingness to walk away from anything that reinforces your excuses, including your own mindset. You might think that holding yourself accountable is harsh, but actually, it's the most empowering thing you can do, because the minute you say, it's on me, you take back your control, you put yourself in the driver's seat, you stop waiting for someone else to fix it, and you start fixing it yourself. If your goals matter, then your excuses can't be louder than your standards. If your vision is real, then your commitment has to be stronger than your mood. Accountability means doing the work even when no one's watching. It means showing up for your future self, not just your current comfort. You don't rise by making better excuses. You rise by raising your standards, by telling yourself the truth, by deciding that average isn't an option and that no matter what happens, you will take ownership. What would change in your life if you stopped explaining and started executing? What would open up for you if you removed every excuse and replaced it with responsibility? What kind of results would you have if you committed to full accountability for the next 30 days? Here's the challenge. Take a goal, just one, and stop outsourcing the reason you haven't hit it. Don't point to time or money or energy. Just ask yourself, what am I doing or not doing that's keeping me here? The power to change your life isn't out there. It's already in your hands, but it only activates when you stop defending your excuses and start demanding more from yourself. You don't need sympathy, you need standards. You don't need more chances, you need more ownership. You don't need another reason why it didn't work, you need one reason to recommit. We talk about the future like it's this distant place, like we'll somehow arrive there more disciplined, more confident, more fulfilled, more successful. But the truth is, your future isn't waiting on more time, it's waiting on you. Not the idealized version of you, not the someday when life slows down version, but the one who's reading this right now. The one who makes the next choice, the one who decides what to do today. Your future isn't a mystery, it's a mirror. It reflects your current habits, decisions, and standards. The life you're going to live next year is being built by the actions you take this week. That goal you're dreaming of, it's not waiting on perfect circumstances, it's waiting on the version of you who shows up when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when nobody is cheering. You keep saying you want change. You say you want growth. You say you're serious this time, but if your actions still look like avoidance, delay, or excuses, you're not preparing for a new future. You're reinforcing your current reality. Your future is built by what you tolerate, what you prioritize, and what you're willing to repeat. You cannot become someone new by behaving like the person you've always been, that version of you. The one who delays decisions, who questions every move, who keeps rewriting the plan but never executes it, that version doesn't lead you into your future, it keeps you locked in your past. If you want to create different results, you have to make different choices. And it starts with a decision, not next week, not next month, now, because your future doesn't wait. It's shaped in real time by every choice you make with your time, your energy, and your focus. We convince ourselves that future success will be easier because we'll be more ready. But readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision, and most people never make it. They wait for clarity, confidence, or momentum, not realizing that all of those things are built through action, not before it. The future version of you, the one with the life, business, relationships, or mind that you keep envisioning, doesn't appear by accident. They're created by sacrifice, by consistency, by doing what's required, not just what's convenient. And the truth is that future self is counting on present you to stop wasting time. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you invest in your future. Every time you say no to short-term comfort, you strengthen long-term fulfillment. Every time you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you close the gap between where you are and where you're meant to be. Your future is watching. It's waiting to see what you'll do when no one's clapping. It's waiting to see if you'll stay committed when the motivation fades. It's waiting to see if you'll rise above your old story and step into your next level, not because you feel like it, but because you've decided to. Here's the truth: no one is coming to push you. No one is going to rearrange your life for you. No one will care about your dreams more than you. So stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for perfect. And stop pretending that later is an option. Later is how people lose years. Later is how potential dies. Later is how your future becomes a repeat of your present. You don't need more time. You need more intention. More execution, more belief that your actions matter even when they feel small, because the compound effect of your daily choices is either building momentum or building regret. Ask yourself, if I keep living today on repeat, what kind of future am I building? If nothing changed, would I be proud of the results I created a year from now, or would I be frustrated, still spinning in the same cycle? You have the power to break the cycle, not by doing something massive tomorrow, but by doing something intentional today. Small steps, repeated with purpose, will take you further than grand plans never acted on. The future you want is real. It's not fantasy. It's not out of reach, but it requires present you to wake up, to lead, to move, to act like your life is worth building with intention, because it is. Your future isn't later, it's now, and it's waiting on you.